Flick off your jandals, crack a cold one from the chili bin, chuck on some cans, and enjoy a Kiwi take on all things Arsenal.
And welcome back to another episode of our Arsenal New Zealand Weekly. Today it's just myself, Mike, down in a beautiful hotel room here in Christchurch, joined by Corey in Wellington. Corey, how's your week been, mate?
Good, thanks, Mike. How about yours?
Look, what happened on the weekend has eased a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, that's for sure. But yeah, it's been a pretty good week. Pretty cold down here in Christchurch, but doing well.
Good stuff.
So I suppose we've got quite a little bit to talk about, considering we've had our first match of the season and things are trucking along all right. But firstly, what's anything new happened in your world this week?
Not too much, just pretty crazy. Watching a lot of the Arsenal content that we've been fed via various media in the last week or so, which has been quite interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Do you want to any picks of the bunch?
I guess probably some parts of the All or Nothing series. I don't know how much of it you've watched. But we get another 3 episodes tomorrow, so.
Look, I've watched the first 3. Yes, I enjoyed most of it. I was somewhat disappointed. As a fan of the All or Nothing series, all of them, having watched the Aussie Rules, every single one of the NFL ones, all the football ones and stuff, I feel like it was a bit more, let's say, predictable. What we were kind of, as you say, fed. While it's cool seeing a little bit of the background stuff, we haven't actually seen all that much that we didn't really already know type stuff.
No, and I mean, I don't think the club's going to go too far into some things, although there's been some comment in the media overnight that the next couple of one of the 3 that are being released tomorrow deals with the Aubameyang situation.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of surprise about how deep they went into it. Compared to, most people thought they'd obviously mention it. How could you not? But I was surprised they went into the depth that they did. I mean, I guess one of the things I found was it was a bit too much. We went here and this was the game and this was the result, and then we went to the next game and it was like, we know all that.
Where's the rest of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed more the behind the scenes stuff. The stuff talking with the other trainers and with Edu and the interactions with all amongst the staff and the guys that we don't hear from all the time.
Yeah, I thought it was quite. Some of the dressing room stuff was quite cool. Hearing their sort of pre-match talks, and especially after the terrible start they had at the start of the season, and the mentality required to kind of bounce back from that as well. So. I'm hoping the next 3 are a bit more, let's say, is the word enlightening, or I suppose reveal something new and something interesting. Because you're right, it was kind of like a pre-match, match bits, post-match, transition, and it was just the same sort of format. So
I think it's important also, and I have to keep reminding myself. I'm not the audience for it.
Yeah.
People like us that follow the club week in, week out, we're not the audience. We're already engaged. They've already got us.
Yeah.
What they're trying to target is a lot of the fans who are kind of still discovering football or discovering Arsenal that are in, that are in the US or Asia or wherever around the world. So, it's more about some of those kind of storylines that, to a lot of us, they'll be perfectly familiar and predictable. But for a whole heap of people, it's all quite new. And for them, hopefully engaging.
Fully understand. Well, maybe we should just jump in and start having a chat about the match, obviously. I mean, we know the result. It was a good first up result, I think, for the team. I've got some little photos here of the lads in the dressing room afterwards. These two, Saliba and Gabriel, I thought were really solid in a sort of a good central partnership. We were under the pump for a little while, and they handled that. As much as you can expect I suppose a new partnership to handle. I was quite pleased with both of their performances, and I thought Ben White had a really good game as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, a lot of people, obviously, the first half hour or first 20 to 30 minutes, we were quite a bit more impressive with the ball, but I think I learned a lot more in the last hour than I did in the first half hour.
Yeah.
And the difference in how we were reacting when we were under pressure and things weren't going our way. That was, I guess, for me, quite a pleasant surprise and something I'd hoped that we would see. Maybe not quite so soon, but even so, we managed to stay on an even keel. I think, and that's the reflection of having added that extra experience to the squad, and I think that'll only get better.
Yeah, you're 100% right there. Maybe we should just have a chat quickly through lineups. Were there any surprises in the Arsenal lineup, considering what we saw in the last, I suppose, preseason games? Were they? It was pretty much what you expected.
Yeah, I think it was all pretty predictable, given the questions will come when a couple of players get a bit more fitness under their belt.
Yeah,
match fitness for some of them. It was good to see KT on at the end there. But yeah, pretty predictable lineup, I think, given what we'd seen in pre-season.
Yeah, I felt the same. There was nowhere where I was kind of, I suppose, a bit nervous or anything, considering obviously we've had a semi-decent pre-season, but...
You know why?
Why?
Because Cedric's not starting.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. There was nowhere on the field that I thought we were, I suppose, is the word weak or going to be outrun or anything like that. I feel like we had a good. Sorry.
Yeah, I was interested to see how Ben White would go against Zaha.
Yeah.
But when I say I was interested, I mean exactly that. I wasn't, shitting bricks like I would have been had Suarez been going against Zaha, knowing that, it'd be curtains. And I think Ben White did really well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I thought we handled, I suppose, Zaha pretty well. He didn't really have too much throughout the whole match, to be fair. Ben White was really strong, and so was, I suppose, that whole back four, really. Or five if you include Ramsdale. Was there any interesting or thoughts on the Palace lineup, or were you just kind of don't really care about them?
I mean, I've taken a little bit more of an interest in them since PV4 took over. And seeing the differences that he's made. I mean, obviously, I'm not anywhere near as familiar with them as what I am with our players. But they're a tough team, and especially playing at home. I think I read a stat or a comment last week that with all the non-top six clubs, Palace had the best record against the top six clubs. So they're not the easiest team to go and dominate and get 3 points against,
especially
that we did.
Especially at their place as well, right? There's
definitely,
I mean, after that first 30 minutes of, I suppose, we came out pretty quick and dominated a little bit. They were like the crowd got on their side and kind of racked them up and got them back into the match. And we've seen that before where Arsenal teams have crumbled when that's happened. So
exactly.
We're quite happy with I suppose our performance, and like their front three is quite or even four if you take Eze in there as well. is quite strong, pacey, physical sort of attacking unit. So I think we did pretty well marshalling them and then being able to bang in a few goals at the other end.
Definitely. I mean, he's putting quite a useful team together.
Yeah,
and he's getting them playing some reasonable football. Quite different from what they were under Boy.
Yeah. So I flicked through here to, I suppose, five players that I kind of thought were really good in the match, and just wanted to have maybe a minute on each. I think Odegaard marshaled the team really, really well. He was strong in sort of his defensive play and his release play. The only thing I think he could have done better is potentially taking that shot instead of trying to cross across the box, right?
Yeah. He's just got to. I don't know what he's got to do, but he's just got to learn to have a pop. And if it's on your right foot, it's on your right foot.
Yeah, and I think that'll come. But yeah, I was if he had taken that shot, and even if the keeper saved it or hit the post or whatever, at least he's had that opportunity, right? When it's when he's tried to pass it, we kind of lost the opportunity. So,
and it's also the message it sends to opposition players.
Yeah,
if he takes a shot, and even if it's straight at the keeper and he saves it or near enough to, at least it's showing that, okay, now he's shooting as well. Whereas last season, every defender in the league knows that if it's on his right foot, chances are he's not going to take a shot.
Yeah,
unless it's a tap-in.
Yeah, agree.
So at least put that doubt and that thought into the opposition's minds, which at the moment, you almost know that he's gonna go for option B, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whether it's trying to get it on his left or just passing it off.
Yeah. Rambo had a good game in the defence. He made a couple of really good saves, which I suppose at that 1-0 mark kind of kept our lead and kept us, I suppose, progressing forward. I think he had one slight pass out mistake, but other than that, his distribution was really good as well. Quite happy with what he's performing. He seems to have carried on his last season's sort of level of performance. So,
yeah, I mean, he had his ups and downs last season. As did a lot of them, and a lot of young players will. It's just about minimising the downs and maximising the ups. And as he builds experience, and that's what we'd expect to happen. So, carry
on. Jesus up front, while he didn't get himself an opening match goal, I thought he was. I don't want to talk him up too much, but I thought he was electric. I thought he delivered what we were expecting, right? Which was that high intensity, engaging, and he fought for the ball. There was a couple of times where he caught their defense napping and made them make mistakes, if you know what I mean. I was really pleased with his performance. I was gutted he didn't get himself a goal, but I thought he played what we needed and what we wanted from him, right?
Yeah, definitely. He's got, and he's kind of carrying on from what I was talking about with Odegaard, and that there's so many facets to his game, and he's got so many tools available that he can use to attack opponents in different ways. That's what makes it much more difficult for defenders to deal with, and they've got more choices to make and less time to make them. So having someone up there with his abilities and his speed of not just his physical speed but also his mental agility to be able to make the right decisions more often and put defenders in places where they don't really want to be. That's not something that we've had for quite a while, which is awesome.
Yeah, and the comment
reminds me of
the comment I've just highlighted there was from Dan. He pulls defenders out of position, which is awesome, not just for him and his, I suppose, go forward, but it makes the life of our other attackers, I'm not going to say easier, but different, right? It's more, the gaps are there for them to exploit because people are watching Jesus, and you can see in the image I've got there of the guy trying to rugby tackle him. He's making defenders' lives an issue, which, like you say, the last 2 seasons we haven't had, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, however long, we haven't had that, making their life a hassle. Moving on to Martinelli, I mean, I thought Martinelli had a really good game. He probably should have scored in the 3rd minute when he kind of slid one wide. But his head didn't go down and he kept his positivity. And, I mean, it's not often that you see Martinelli score from a corner either. But it was pretty awesome to see him get his goal. And that kind of, I think, made all of us fans kind of just relax a little bit as well, right?
Definitely.
I know that whole tagline of trust the process, etc., whatever, but it's good to see that the preseason plans and performances of kind of moving into season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing playing pretty football, and we did, and it's another thing dominating, and we did for the first 25 minutes. But at the end of the day, it's about scoring goals. So if we're not scoring goals or we're missing opportunities, we saw in the court through the course of that game that, you know, the tide can turn and we can just as easily concede them, even though we didn't this week, which is great. So the fact that we did get that goal, we asserted we got some reward for all that dominance.
Yeah.
But then we kind of went into that switchy offy thing to a degree again. They changed their tactics. They put pressure on us in midfield, and we kind of didn't really respond to it too well until later in the second half.
Yeah, their change in, I suppose, tactic, shape, positions took us a little bit to kind of, I think, understand and adjust. That they lifted their intensity after that 30 minutes as well, and the crowd was right behind them. And rightly so. I mean, first match of the season, their home game, etc. But it was always going to happen. You're never going to dominate a team like we did in that first 30 minutes for the whole 90. So it was going to happen, but it was good to see the team kind of stand up and deal with that. And I suppose that leads us into the guy in the centre there holding his trophy. I mean, first... Would you say first game in an Arsenal shirt? First proper game in an Arsenal shirt?
First team game.
Yeah. How awesome.
23s beforehand.
Yeah. How awesome was it to see him just marshal that defense, right? He had pace, he had poise, he had distribution, he tackled at the right moment. I don't think he put a hair out of place in that match, did he?
Well, I mean, probably one or two. You know, we don't want to get too carried away.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but we needed to. He performed, right?
But I guess for me, if nothing else, and you know, I had questions like a lot of people, I guess, but it really shows the value of him going to France and playing where he played and playing as much as he got to play. You know, there's no way he'd be at this level if he had have stayed at Arsenal. You know, it's quite simple. Yeah. And you know, the guy that we've got back is he's hit the ground running, he's ready to go, and he's already at a level, and he's going to get better.
Yeah, and hitting the ground running, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, right? Is he's come back with confidence, ability, and I think that the players around him are recognizing that as well. But Dan said here that Ben White's had a hell of a game. We did talk about Ben a little bit earlier, but I I think the confidence that Saliba's brought or given to the players around him is something that we can't underestimate either, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing that'll go through the whole team.
Yeah.
And that can be a positive or it can be a negative, as we've seen through the course of last season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But having and that's the benefit, I think, also of having guys like Zinchenko and Jesus come in from teams that have been winning, and Saliba as well. They're used to performing at that top level and winning.
Yeah. Look, there's obviously another 8 or 9 players that we could have kind of talked about, 7 or 8 players that we could have talked about that also played pretty well. But I think that they were the 5 for me that kind of had an 8, 9 out of 10 sort of game, which is, I think, what we needed. Saka played pretty well down the right. Zinchenko played really well.
Zinchenko, just to touch on him a little bit, and it wasn't so much his performance, but it was seeing what he allows us to do and be, and how different he can play that role compared to obviously what KT does. And I don't think it's as simple. I mean, it might be for some people, but it's not one's good, one's bad, or one's better. They're just very, very different. And the tactical flexibility that gives Arteta, I think, moving forward, so to speak, is going to be really valuable.
Yeah, the seeing, I suppose, like Zinchenko and White kind of tuck in almost as defensive midfielders at points in the game, either both or one at a time, was quite interesting to look at. I know we don't really see too much when we follow the ball on the camera and all that, but it was quite interesting to see them kind of sit in front of almost the 2 central defenders and allow everybody else to kind of push on. Like, I don't think we've seen Xhaka play as high and as attacking before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, and it's very much, again, what City do or have started doing with Pep. And it becomes almost a 2-3-5.
It was, yeah.
You've got pretty much a 5. No, and it's the formation I played as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it's not new, but yeah, it's really interesting to see.
Yeah. Dan's comment here about Xhaka's dive. I suppose it's part of the game, but what I don't condone the dive at all, but the other side, I think there was a dive about 5 minutes later from one of the Palace players that just got left, and Xhaka's was a yellow card, and that consistency, I think, is still an issue in the refereeing. But I mean, I don't condone it, but I thought Xhaka played pretty well, except for that dive. So yeah,
it's been interesting watching the shift in him. I say he's been the media guy this week too.
He has, yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah. All right. So looking forward, obviously there's a match coming up this weekend. We've got Leicester at home, first home match of the season. I'm hoping we're not wearing the bloody pink kit again. It just doesn't look right on an Arsenal team. But I think is it Sunday morning? Was it 2 a.m. I believe is the kickoff time?
Like that.
Yeah. So maybe I'll pose a few questions here. Are you hoping for or thinking it's going to be the same sort of starting 11?
I can't see a lot of reason to change it. Obviously, we're playing at home, so I think a question might be around whether we do something to get a little bit more time into Tierney.
Yeah.
And whether that might mean that Xhaka sits down maybe at halftime or something, and we put Zinchenko into midfield. Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's it'll be important to get some minutes in the legs of KT, that's for sure. And I think there's talk of potentially Tomiyasu being on the bench as well, depending on how his fitness test goes. So if he is there, I think it'd be quite cool to be able to give him 10 minutes at the end as well. But
definitely. Smith Rowe and Vieira started training this week too.
Yeah.
Proper training.
And now we can have 5 subs as well in a match. Not that Arteta used them on the weekend, but
no.
The whole concept of 5 of your bench actually potentially getting on is, I think, a good thing. From an injury recovery perspective, right? You can give them 5 or 10 minutes at the end of a match to go there and get that done. So, look, like you, I'm hoping it's the same starting 11, and I'm hoping that we are able to neutralise, I suppose, the Vardy threat, because he seems to have a bit of a run against us, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
He's a big fan.
Yeah, I'm feeling more confident against Vardy this season than I have in the last couple of seasons with our players that we've got in that defensive unit. So,
yeah, and I think probably likewise Leicester as a whole. You know, they haven't. I was going to say they haven't done a lot in the transfer window. They haven't actually done anything.
Yeah,
except lose a couple of players.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think, you know, if we play anywhere near our potential, we should be in with a good shout of 3 points.
Yeah, you're right there. The other thing that I've got to bring up on the slide here is a bit of an update on Dylan's fantasy league. So I think Dylan's had close to 70 people kind of jump in and pay the $5 to join the fantasy league and to win one of these jerseys that he's got up for grabs. Zan Picken has topped our first week with a massive 80 points. He's done pretty well there. And I think we've got Regan McKinnon 78 and Adam Starr on 78. Those three are, I think, in line for the top 3 prizes. Obviously, only after week 1, but not a bad sort of start to the fantasy league. I'd just like to bring your attention to line 7 on the screen there. There's someone that we both know that's doing pretty well there. And
I'm make sure you can keep that slide for the rest of the season.
This is the only slide that's going to be. This is the only fantasy slide that we're going to show this whole season because I'm on it, and it's probably the only time that I'll be on it. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool to see so many of I suppose the New Zealand fans kind of jump in on that opportunity that Dylan's put together around the fantasy league, and it's good to see that Dylan's not on that top 10 list either, because we don't want him rigging it. That's for sure. Look, if you got any final thoughts there to wrap up our discussion today?
No, not at all. I think good solid start to the season. 3 points in the bag. We're already ahead of where we were last season. Not that that's terribly difficult, but you know, the less said about that, the better. But yeah. I think more importantly, there were no injuries. People are coming back. Carry on.
More of the same is what I'm asking for as well, man. It was nice to watch. It was good to see a heartening sort of defensive display as well, and some threats up front. And it's good to see that we've made a bit of progress as well. So let's keep that gravy train rolling.
Definitely.
All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I know it's a bit late in the evening for us, and it's a little bit of a day later than we originally expected. But To those who tuned in on our live broadcast, but also on our delayed, would you say delayed coverage on Spotify or podcasts, thanks very much for tuning in. And we'll be back Tuesday next week for the next edition.
Absolutely. If we're not here, start without us.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Corey, man.
Thank you. Come on, the Arsenal.
Come on, the Arsenal.
Flick off your jandals, crack a cold one from the chili bin, chuck on some cans, and enjoy a Kiwi take on all things Arsenal.